Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to Reese Rambles, episode 12, the official podcast of Control-Alt-Reese, that amazing and fantastic and wonderful YouTube channel that I hope you're all subscribed to, of course, run by a guy who, coincidentally, is also called Reese, and is one of the nicest guys on the internet. Anyway, there's a topic that I've been meaning to talk about for the longest time, and I keep skipping it. Not because I don't want to talk about it. In fact, it's something I'm really keen to talk about. But because I keep forgetting because I'm just completely disorganized. And someone actually reminded me a few days ago. So I made a note right at the top of my notes for this ramble. And we're going to talk about it right now. So I hope you're all prepared to hear about my shorts. That's right, the shorts experiment. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while now, you'll know that I talked about an experiment on my YouTube channel back in April. And basically, I'd been recommended this random video from a travel channel, which I watched. And the guy he didn't make YouTube shorts, but he decided to experiment with them to see if he could use them to grow his channel. Now, we'll just take a little diversion just to explain the concept of shorts to anyone who's not familiar with them already. So if you're familiar with TikTok and Instagram Reels and those kind of vertical short form video platforms, at some point YouTube decided that they wanted to get in on that action as well. And so they launched YouTube Shorts. I know, very imaginative name. And in true YouTube fashion, the way they launched it was a complete and utter cock-up. The content wasn't separated from normal long-form content at all. We were constantly getting recommended shorts, and that they look awful on a TV or on a desktop computer or in a web browser. They are definitely primarily designed for mobile vertical users only. They hadn't separated it out into a separate app. And as far as we're concerned, the actual people making videos, Shorts just played hell with all of our sort of analytics and all of the statistics in the back end. You release a lot of 1 minute long videos on YouTube, and then all of a sudden it's going to completely destroy your average view duration, which is one of the kind of the stats that YouTube use to determine the quality of a channel. And obviously, a lot of creators kind of jumped on them immediately, very quickly realised that they were destroying their channels, and then gave up. And then the whole thing basically just ended up being people who were already big on Instagram Reels and on TikTok just reposting their content to YouTube in a very sort of half-assed way. Also, YouTube didn't really pay for them either. Obviously, a lot of kind of big professional content creators are interested in making money from their content, and that's one of the kind of the main draws of YouTube. It has that whole ecosystem, that whole advertising platform, obviously being owned by Google, who are an advertising company. And by and large, that system works very well. If you're the kind of channel that gets lots of views, then you're going to show ads on your channel and you're going to get paid for those ads. And that was an arrangement that's been in place for a very, very long time and has worked out very well for lots of those big channels. And if they decided to spend some of their precious time and resources on shorts, they discovered that those shorts didn't make them any money. So that was another reason why they didn't really take off initially. And the whole thing, as I say, was a complete and utter mess. But I'd watched this channel, like I say, like many others, I'd kind of written them off because of all of those above reasons and more. But I'd watched this video on this channel, and this guy was saying, it's time to give shorts another chance. And what he did was he made 30 shorts in advance, and he released them one day at a time on his channel. Basically, there's a box that we can tick in the back end in YouTube that basically stops those videos getting pushed to our existing subscribers. So it's a good way to, release those kind of secretly under the radar to that shorts audience without having them pushed to our existing viewers, who are generally the kind of people who don't like shorts because they're generally completely different audiences. But in his case, he released these shorts and not a lot happened for the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden, overnight, they'd suddenly started getting loads and loads of views. And loads of new subscribers to his channel off the back of these shorts, and that translated into views on his kind of proper long-form videos, which of course are the ones with the ad revenue on, which earned him his living. So he was a full-time YouTuber. And he was basically saying that the shorts were bringing in a whole new audience to the channel and helping to grow the channel. And that it's something that perhaps other big channels could revisit and give another try, even if there wasn't kind of a direct monetary benefit from it, that it would grow the channel overall. So I looked at that and I thought, yeah, you know what? I'll give that a try. I'm always looking for ways to kind of reach new audiences and stuff. It's very competitive on YouTube, and you know, I don't have aspirations of world domination or anything like that, but I do put a huge amount of work into my videos, and I like to kind of make them the best possible experience for my viewers. And if I can get those videos in front of more people, then yeah, I'm all for it. Why not? You know, that's my art, so to speak. It's great that it can be seen by more people. So of course I'm going to try things that allow that to happen. So I thought I would steal this concept and I would make some shorts. So I made a few kind of upfront, ready to go. But I wasn't really properly prepared for it. In all honesty, I probably should have had all sort of 30 ready to go and delayed it a month and done it in May instead. But I decided to go for it in April, and I ended up releasing 12. To cut a long story short, I didn't last the entire month, and there are a few reasons for that. But I think the first thing we should probably talk about are the actual stats. So, like I say, I released 12 shorts, and in total, they gained just under 12,000 views, across all of those shorts. And there was a kind of a massive disparity in kind of how those views kind of worked out on those shorts. So by far the most popular one was about a Pac-Man Atari 5200 prototype cartridge that I have. I'd already made a video about that on my channel. And that got over 6,000 views, 6,192, which is over half of the total views that those shorts have got at the time of recording this. And the one that was the least popular was actually one that it was the very first one I did, and it was off the back of a video that I was making at the time, which was the one about the history of Xbox Live Arcade. And that short got 84 views. I don't mean on its first day. I mean, as of now, over a month later, that video has 84 views on it, which is just, yeah. And it was a good short, if I do say so myself. I was actually quite pleased with how that one came out. And I thought it was one of the better ones, but I think because the general theme of them was kind of Atari history. There was another one about my Dansette record player, which kind of did sort of averagely. But because I think because the general theme of my shorts was kind of Atari stuff and Atari history and my kind of Atari collection, perhaps that Xbox video just was kind of a little bit too off topic, and that's why it did so absolutely abysmally. It didn't get a lot of thumbs down or thumbs downs, dislikes or whatever. But yeah, it just, I guess YouTube knew it was off topic and didn't know who to show it to. Didn't show it to my existing audience and didn't show it to anyone else either. And it just didn't pop up on people's feeds as they were idly flicking through. But hey, that's why we do these things for, so we can learn these things. And yeah, so the Pac-Man 5200 prototype cartridge short, which was the most popular one, that gained 12 new subscribers to the channel. Now, obviously, we can't track individual subscribers, so I don't know if they've gone on to watch other videos and stuff, or if they just subscribed so they would get more of my shorts. I'm not really sure. And that's 12 out of 23, so a very similar kind of ratio. So across all of those shorts that I released, they got 12,000 views. I got 23 new subscribers off the back of all of those shorts, and by far the most popular one got over half of just over half of the views and about half of the subs. The next one, which was quite interesting, was the video music, and that's quite a popular video on my channel anyway, and I decided to kind of adapt that and turn it into a short about the story of the Atari video music, the music visualizer that they made in the 70s. And that one gained me 4 new subscribers and only got 488 views, which is a really good ratio of kind of views to new subscribers. So I guess people saw that and thought, oh, this is something very different, it's quite interesting. So yeah, just some very interesting kind of stats. Now, the reason I only made 12 of them essentially was because I'd kind of made a load up front and kind of released those. And there was one day when I didn't have one ready, and I managed to get a few more made in the morning and then release that day's short in the afternoon and kind of managed to get one out that day and had enough for the next few days. But it was kind of stressing me out really, and they weren't really having the effect that I thought they would have. The one that's done really well has kind of been a bit of a slow burner the entire time that it's been up. But the way that the shorts generally work is in my experience at least, is that they seem to get all of their views in the first hour, and then they just drop off, and that's it. They don't get any more. And other than this one that's kind of just been sort of slowly going away, slowly kind of evergreen type content, slowly burning away in the background, gaining those views over the past month. That's how it's gone for every single one of them. Loads of views and then dead after the first hour. Very, very strange phenomenon. I'm glad I did it. Don't get me wrong, but I think it just got to a point where I thought I'm spending a lot of time on this, and I think I've kind of learnt everything I'm going to learn about these, and perhaps they're just not a good fit for my kind of audience. And they were kind of a big distraction from the kind of video, the bigger videos that I was working on at the time as well. I got a lot out of it creatively, I must say. I've been working on my video format, obviously, since I started my channel, and it has evolved kind of quite gradually over the past 3 years. I like to try and improve, and this is something I've talked about before. I like to try and improve kind of at least one element in every video that I make. And all of those changes have kind of accumulated over the past 3 years, and I've kind of got into a rhythm and a kind of a style of editing and a style of scripting and a style of kind of presenting that I'm really happy with. And my videos, I think this year, over the past 5 months, have been very consistent in kind of all of those areas, just because I've kind of found my groove really, and kind of found a system and a way of working that works for me. And forcing myself to do those shorts, obviously they're completely different. My face didn't appear in any of them, so I had to find B-roll footage. And not only that, a lot of them were older videos that obviously weren't recorded with vertical format in mind. So you kind of have to zoom them and crop them, and sometimes it's impossible to make them work that way, and you kind of have to come up with other ways to kind of lay them out. And I've seen sort of very lazy attempts at shorts where people have taken, traditional sort of horizontal content, and they've just slapped it in the middle and put like a background on it. And they don't do well at all, because people can spot that. They're shorts viewers. They don't want to watch a video that's not designed for that format, that's kind of been shoehorned into that format, and it's kind of insulting their intelligence a little bit, I think. And so those just never do well. So I had to be really creative in the way that I kind of framed things and kind of cropped things and zoomed things and panned things. And I'm really pleased with how. With all of them and how they all came together. I don't think there's any that I kind of put out there that I wasn't really happy with. But a lot of work, quite rewarding creatively, just because it's a completely different way of working. And I think there's a lot of stuff that I learned from the shorts that I can apply to my other videos. Stuff like getting straight to the point and kind of trying to be quite concise in the way that I deliver information. Obviously, shorts are a very extreme version of that. But just trying to be concise. Obviously, this is a bit different. This is a podcast. This is Rambles. So, of course, there will be rambling. But yeah, in my scripted videos, just that kind of research process. Get to the point. What is the point? Decide what it is. Get to the point straight away. Obviously, you need a hook in the first few seconds to get people hooked into the video. That's something I think that I am kind of starting to apply to my other videos, although perhaps not to kind of the extreme that some other channels do. I don't want to turn into Mr. Beast and start off with shouting and loud noises and big text on screen and explosions going off and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't suit me, and it doesn't suit my audience, and it's not a route I could ever see myself going down. But there's a balance. There's a balance that you have to find. Anyway, that's the results of the Great Shorts experiment. And like I say, I didn't go the whole month, but I don't see it as a failure. I think I learned everything from it that I wanted to learn. I don't think the results were all that unexpected. And I know there's always a temptation when you do these things, and people will always say, oh, yeah. And then you go in and then you do it and it proves them right. And they're like, oh, well, I told you so. You wasted your time kind of doing that. But I've always tried things that I don't really listen to other people's advice when they say, oh, don't do that. That's a waste of time. Because sometimes I do stuff and actually it works out being, it works out very well for me. I don't want to go into examples because I know there are a lot of other people with YouTube channels who've tried to give me advice in the past who are listening to this. And, if I go into specific examples, they might take that personally, as people tend to do. Sorry, I've just bumped into the microphone there. And, but yeah, so a fun experiment, learned quite a lot from it, learnt perhaps some new things that will apply to my videos and help make them a bit more concise and a bit more interesting. And, learnt that I'm not destined to be a full-time shorts person. Although I also saw a video fairly recently that was talking about how that short form content's basically all dying off now because essentially there's no money in it. Ultimately, these things are businesses, these platforms, and they exist to raise money. And if advertisers don't want to pay to advertise on short form content, because the whole nature of this short form content is that people don't retain any of it. You flick through, you don't remember any individual videos. And if adverts are being delivered alongside that in that same format, then people aren't going to retain those either. And they're going to result in, a very low number of conversions and a sort of very bad investment for the people paying for those adverts. And I think advertisers are starting to realise that, and they're kind of putting their money back into kind of the longer form videos and the longer form content. So, other than influencers, pushing a particular brand of makeup or whatever and not properly disclosing it and then getting in legal trouble, I think the actual kind of revenue side of it isn't there, and they're burning through their venture capital money, and they're kind of starting to panic. I even heard that TikTok are now starting to experiment with horizontal video and longer time. So they're essentially turning into YouTube. Again, I don't know if they were running out of that Chinese government money or what, but it's quite interesting to hear about. But yeah, so that's that. That's shorts. That's my thoughts on shorts, on my shorts experiment. Don't let that put you off if you want to have a play with them and make some. Personally, I think if you are a channel similar to mine, and you want to just make a short occasionally because you're working on a video and it's just easy enough to, sort of churn out a short version of that, I don't think it's worth your time. I think if you do it that infrequently, and I did have a few on my channel before I did this, which I actually deleted before I started with all this. I did have 3, I think, that I'd done over the years, maybe 4, and none of them had done well at all. We're talking like double-digit views, and they just fizzled out and never gone anywhere. And I think unless you're going to properly commit to it and properly make content for that audience and for that format, and you're actually going to commit to it and regularly release stuff in that format, then it's not really worth your time. Maybe if you're a big sort of commercial channel like, I don't know, Linus Tech Tips or someone like that, and you've got you've got a dedicated team that can put that stuff out there, then maybe that's worth doing just to grow your audience and remain relevant with that the generation that watches that content. But for people like us, no, I don't think a very good use of our time. I know, you all told me so, but now I know, and I have the data to prove it, and that's ultimately, I think, the best way to do it. So, on that note, and there's one other topic that I wanted to talk about and get into in this particular ramble. On that note of YouTube and the whole content creation thing being a business, there has been quite an interesting development in the world of YouTube this week that I wanted to talk about, because I've had some conversations around this topic with a few people, a few other YouTubers, but also, people who aren't YouTubers. What do we call them? I don't know. And it was a post to Reddit earlier this week it was a screenshot from YouTube, and it was basically stating that you are using an ad blocker. YouTube relies on ad revenue to survive. Please disable your ad blocker if you want to continue to use YouTube. And basically, this is the first time that YouTube has done this, and it's quite a big step, and it's been quite a revelation to quite a lot of people. And there's been quite a lot of, quite a lot of negative kind of feedback from it as well. I will say up front that obviously I earn money from my YouTube channel, from the adverts, but that's not predominantly why I do it. And ultimately, I'm just happy for people to be watching my stuff. But I do have friends who are full-time YouTubers who do rely on that income, and obviously basically YouTube know full well who is watching the ads and who isn't. And if someone watches one of our videos with an ad blocker enabled, we don't get any money from it, essentially. And that's just the way it is. Now, I'm not complaining about that. I'm not trying to guilt trip anyone. And I have to say that when it comes to the internet at large, I do use an ad blocker. I'm a web developer in my day job. All of the tracking stuff and the cookies and all that stuff, it's just insane. And I don't want companies like Facebook to be able to track everything that I'm looking at all over the internet so they can serve me relevant adverts for stuff that I've looked at. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like that business model. And I'm quite upfront about that. And of course, YouTube being part of Google works in that same way. And I do have an ad blocker, which I use on YouTube, which is enabled on YouTube. But I do also pay for YouTube Premium. And the reason I've always been able to justify that is because it is one of the main sort of sources of entertainment in our house. Friday and Saturday nights we do sit down, and there's quite a lot of YouTube channels that we watch. I've talked about this before. And when we watch those channels as a premium subscriber, those creators get more money than they would have done if we hadn't been and if we'd watched the ads. And I know that because we can see those figures in our backend in YouTube Studio. I can actually see the revenue split from YouTube Premium users compared to normal users, and it's much higher per view. That's just the simple kind of long and short of it. So in our case, I think that's quite easy to justify. And also we use an NVIDIA Shield, which is like a little Android TV box, which is plugged into the TV. Yes, you can block ads on those by routing the traffic through a pie hole or whatever, but ultimately I can't really be bothered with that whole, cat and mouse song and dance. I know people are going to say in the comments, oh, it's dead easy, you just set it up once and then it works on your whole network, but I can't be bothered. I'd rather just pay for premium. Creators get paid well from that. We're watching their stuff as if it's TV or movies or whatever, so yeah. But ultimately, I totally understand why people use ad blockers. Like I say, I use one, and it's an interesting move from YouTube, isn't it, to kind of start trying to sort of force people away from that. And there are websites that have implemented this tactic, of course, before. I think Forbes is the one that comes up as an example. You search for literally anything on the internet, and Forbes has an article on it because they're just a massive, blog farm or whatever you call it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're using ChatGPT to just churn stuff out now as well. But sometimes you do find yourself clicking on them and there's a big message that comes up saying, please disable your ad blocker. And of course, I just click straight off because they've just got so many trackers and crap running on their website. And it's, disable the ad blocker and it's so painfully slow to use that it's like, I may as well just get that information from one of the thousands of other sites that have that same information, Same for AMP as well, those AMP sites that you have on Android, and I think you do get them on the iPhone as well, which is the newsfeed thing on Android when you sort of swipe to the right, and sometimes you get them from search results as well. And they're all like local newspaper websites and that kind of stuff. And whenever I look at them on my phone, it's like there's more adverts than actual content. There's a video that's taking up like a third of the screen that's playing for some irrelevant bollocks that I'm not interested in. Every other paragraph, there's, some, I don't know, local woman discovers weight loss secret that, doctors hate her and all of that. You won't believe number 5 and all of this. I mean, this stuff's all a massive cliche for a reason. And so I don't really look at that stuff. I don't have an ad blocker on my phone either because I don't really browse the internet on my phone. I tend to just kind of use the apps that I use and that's it. But yeah, it's just insane, just the sheer amount of it. So, yeah. I think the point that I'm getting at is that YouTube Premium, I can see why, if people will pay a subscription for Netflix or Amazon Prime or Apple TV, and I pay for all three of those and, Spotify as well, and, we watch stuff on those services, and I'm generally happy to pay for them, although it would be nice if there was a lot more stuff on there that we could actually watch, particularly in the case of like Amazon and Apple TV, where you go to watch a movie and it's like, oh, you have to pay another $3.99 to watch this movie, and it's like, well, you're talking about stuff that's like, I don't know, like Terminator and RoboCop and stuff that was made like 30, 40 years ago. It's like, why the hell should I have to pay for this again? You know, all the actors and the producers and the directors and the studios and whoever, you know, they're all in their mansions in the Hollywood Hills with all the billions that they've made from these movies over the years. You know, it's like, why can't this be included in my, you know, $7.99 a month subscription or whatever it is? But anyway, you know, I am a person who pays for subscription services, and YouTube Premium is too expensive. It's like, what is it? It's like $12.99 a month or something now. Because you get YouTube Music with it, which I don't use. I use Spotify to listen to music and podcasts and stuff. You know, YouTube Music is crap. I don't know anyone who uses it. And in some parts of the world, they have decoupled those two services. I think it was Norway, I read, actually have separate YouTube Music and YouTube Premium as a video thing. And as a result, the video version of YouTube Premium is quite a lot cheaper. I think it was about half the price. And apparently you can also use a VPN and connect to somewhere like India or Vietnam or somewhere like that, and actually set up the billing side of your account from one of those countries, and actually pay as if you live in one of those countries, and then it works out at like $1.99 a month or something like that. Which of course is amazing value for money. And if they can afford to, you know, if they can afford to get away with that in one part of the world, I don't understand why it has to cost like over 10 times as much in another part of the world. But there you go. Yeah, no, my maths is terrible, but you get the point anyway. And of course, there are some features that they are starting to take away from regular users. 4K video now, I think you have to have premium. We don't even have a 4K TV. The only way I have of watching 4K content is on my laptop. And of course, I generally don't, because there's no real benefit on a screen that size. But yeah, apparently, if you have a 4K TV and you want to watch 4K content, you now have to be a premium subscriber on YouTube. I kind of get that. You know, if you're the kind of person who's looking for that kind of premium 4K experience, then you're probably the kind of person who spent money on kit. And why not spend a bit more money on a subscription service that gets you the content that goes along with that expensive kit? So I do get that. You know, as far as watching YouTube videos is concerned, I don't think there's any real benefit for them, or most of them, being in 4K. I say that with the knowledge, of course, that all of my stuff is recorded and released in 4K. There's no real benefit to it. I just kind of, you know, when I first started, I had a camera that was capable of recording in 4K, so I thought I would do everything in 4K, you know, make life difficult for myself, you know, suffer with the performance implications as far as editing 4K video is concerned, and then have to wait for ages for it to upload because the file sizes are so much bigger and everything else. But yeah, that's something that I've committed to, and something that I've kind of always done on my channel. So, yes, will they start removing other features for non-premium subscribers to try to sort of push people down that route? I have to say, I'd much prefer obviously you've got the carrot and the stick approach. This please disable your ad blocker thing is the stick. I'd much prefer they went with the carrot route of kind of giving us stuff in reward for paying for that service. Whether that be 4K video or something else, you know, they could start putting movies on there. Or I think you can rent movies through YouTube, but it costs extra, doesn't it? And I think they did a load of exclusive content at one point with Colin Furze and people like that. You know, they had like exclusive series that I think cost extra. You know, stuff like that. Maybe you know, have premium exclusive content from big creators as kind of a draw to kind of get people in. But ultimately, make it cheaper, and ultimately don't get rid of the free offering, which is kind of always been the backbone of how YouTube has worked. But yeah, very interesting debate. It'd be interesting to see how it goes. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is going to be the death of YouTube. It's going to push people to other platforms and stuff." It's not. People are going to find workarounds for it. There's going to be ways to watch YouTube without having to watch the ads if that's what you want to do. You know, surely that's always going to be an option somehow. And ultimately, I don't think any of those other platforms are really viable, to be honest. I've looked into quite a few of them. Nebula's very interesting, although of course that's a paid service as well. And then you've got Floatplane, obviously from LTT. That's a paid service. So there are these kind of smaller subscription-based services popping up. Of course, they're completely ad-free. Really nice experience. I do have Nebula, actually, although I always forget to watch anything on there. But yeah, really, really nice kind of user experience compared to YouTube, which is kind of this huge, ungainly, clunky beast that's been growing for God knows how many years. So yeah, could YouTube kind of successfully transition into a platform like that? Maybe we'll all be watching our long form content on TikTok in future. Maybe that will be the new YouTube. Who knows? But yes, very interesting debate. And I'm sure you were expecting me to come to some kind of conclusion, but I'm not going to tell you what to think. But yeah, watch it however you want. I'm just happy that you're watching my content. Obviously, you can support me on Patreon and Ko-fi and all those platforms as well. To be fair, if you want to block ads completely on YouTube and then pay someone £1 a month on Patreon, you're ultimately probably making more money from you than they would have done had you watched their ads. So perhaps that's a solution. But yeah, so anyway, before I say anything too controversial and end up getting cancelled by either the pro ad blocking people or the anti ad blocking people, I'm just going to say they are my very random and varied thoughts on the matter. It'd be interesting to hear what you think. Maybe you want to pop by my Discord and have a little chat about it, or maybe you want to pop something down in the comments if you are watching this on a platform that happens to offer that feature. Thank you very much for listening to this episode 12 of Reese Rambles. Go and check out my YouTube channel, Control-Alt-Reese. There will be a video out either as you listen to this or very, very shortly, all about a very interesting piece of gem history, which involves Apple and Xerox and a few other companies, that interesting period in history when graphical user interfaces were kind of in their infancy in the mid-80s, and there were lots of lawsuits and things and everyone copying ideas off each other, and really interesting time in computer history. So there's a video about that. Go and watch that. Thank you very much for listening to this. I'm going to stop now because I really am rambling. And yeah, I will see you next week.